Welcome to F-Bomb Friday. I am your host, Tracy Preston, along with my husband, Todd. Hey, hon.
Hey, baby.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's hit it. Rivers are honest in ways people are not. They don't lie. They just don't tell you everything. The Kalamazoo River has seen Michigan before Michigan had a name. It watched forests fall, cities rise, factories poison its waters, and people convinced themselves they understood what lived beneath its surface. But rivers don't forget. They hold memories, the way silt holds bones, quietly, patiently, waiting for the current to shift. Today's episode isn't about a monster jumping from the water and roaring at the moon. It's worse than that. It's about something that never needed to announce itself. Something that just stayed beneath the surface, close enough to be felt. Never close enough to be proven. A creature whispered about for more than a century, dismissed as folklore, mocked as imagination, yet never fully erased. If you listen closely to the river, it still breathes. Today's F-Bomb Friday story is about the Kalamazoo River Dragon. The Kalamazoo River stretches for more than 130 miles, winding through southern Michigan before emptying into Lake Michigan. On the map, it looks peaceful, even gentle. In reality, it's deceptive. Shallow bends give way to sudden depth. Calm water hides violent undercurrents. Fog clings low to the surface in the early morning hours, thick enough to swallow sound. The river's name itself is a puzzle. Kalamazoo does not have a single agreed upon meaning. The name Kalamazoo comes from Indigenous languages of the region, most often linked to the Potawatomi or the Ojibwe. Though its exact meaning is debated, common interpretations include mirage or reflection of water, boiling water, river with bends, stones that make noise referring to river rocks. That ambiguity matters because long before settlers had built mills and bridges along its banks, Indigenous people understood something about this river that later generations forgot. Water is alive. By the mid-1800s, the Kalamazoo River had become a working river. Farmers relied on it. Fishermen trusted it. Children swam in it. And slowly, quietly, people began noticing things that didn't fit. Crops near the riverbank, celery, corn, root vegetables, were found crushed and partially eaten. not stripped clean like deer or raccoon damage, not scattered like a boar, but pressed down, torn away, and left behind as if whatever fed there wasn't particularly hungry, just curious. Fishermen complained about nets being dragged that snapped, not torn, but pulled, slow and deliberate, like something testing resistance before letting go, like something testing resistance before letting go. And then there were the ripples. Not chaotic splashing, not fish breaks. Perfect, but perfect rhythmic disturbances that moved against the current. People would stand on the bank and watch them pass, feeling watched in return. Most said nothing. Michigan has always had strong culture of minding your business, especially when something doesn't make sense. But in 1897, one man wrote it down. Jacob R. Kaczynski was not a drunk storyteller or a wide-eyed believer in chasing monsters. He was a naturalist, a meticulous observer, the kind of man who measured footprints and labeled plant samples. He spent long stretches along the Kalamazoo River documenting wildlife, convinced there were still species unaccounted for in the region. What he encountered wasn't supposed to exist. According to accounts attributed to his personal field notes, Kaczynski described seeing mist rise unnaturally fast along a riverbed just before dawn. And out of that mist, something moved. Not swimming, not crawling, but gliding. He described a body long enough that he couldn't see its full length at once. Limbs that broke the surface briefly, then vanished. Skin patterned like wet bark and river moss. So well camouflaged, it almost disappeared when it stopped moving. But what haunted him most were the eyes. Not glowing, not monstrous, just aware. Kaczynski wrote that the creature didn't flee. It didn't react aggressively. It watched him in a way a predator watches something it doesn't need to fear. He returned to the river repeatedly after that encounter, convinced it was real, convinced it wasn't alone. Then the notes stopped. Locals later began referring to the creature as a dragon, but not in the European sense. No wings, no fire, no dramatic confrontation. This dragon was quieter, older, patient. Witnesses who came forward decades later described similar features: a long, sinuous body, webbed limbs, a head shaped more like a crocodile than a serpent, and a presence that felt oppressive, like the air thickened when it was near. Several fishermen independently described hearing what they thought was breathing coming from the water on still nights. Slow, heavy exhalations that caused the surface to tremble slightly. One man swore the river rose up beneath his boat, not violently, just enough to tilt it before settling again, as if something massive had rolled beneath him. And then there were the children. Parents along the river told stories of kids refusing to swim in certain bends, not because of currents, not because of depth, but because, as they put it, the water watches back. During severe flooding in 1904, the Kalamazoo River burst beyond its banks. Debris, livestock, and even sections of fencing were swept downstream. Multiple witnesses reported seeing something large moving through the chaos, not carried by it. Some described a dark ridge breaking the surface. Others described water parting unnaturally, as if pushed aside. One farmer claimed he watched a tangled mass of logs veer sharply away from a certain stretch of river, not floating naturally, but redirected. No physical evidence was recovered, but stories spread fast during disasters, especially when fear is high. And once a legend survives a flood, it does not drown easily. Here's where the story takes a stranger turn. Some versions of the legend suggest that the Kalamazoo River Dragon didn't originate in Michigan at all. Instead, they trace its roots to maritime folklore in England, particularly dock worker tales from Liverpool, involving massive eel-like creatures that clung to ship hulls or followed vessels silently out to sea. The theory suggests that during the 19th century, something small, like an egg, a juvenile, hitched a ride across the Atlantic inside a cargo hold or ballast tank, and from there, it traveled inland via the Great Lakes and eventually settled in a river that mirrored its original habitat. Something deep, slow, and murky. And is there any proof? Well, no. But the idea resonates because it taps into something deeply unsettling, that humans don't just move goods across oceans. Sometimes they move consequences. Long before any English sailors or Michigan settlers, Indigenous tribes of the Great Lakes region told stories of powerful water beings, guardians and destroyers, protectors and punishers. Among the Anishinaabe, the Mishu-Pishu, or water panther, which we've discussed on a previous episode, was said to rule the depths. A creature of immense strength, scale-covered, horned, capable of dragging canoes under the surface when disrespected. These beings were not cryptids. They were forces. Warnings given shape. And while no known oral tradition names a creature specifically tied to the Kalamazoo River as a dragon, the overlap is impossible to ignore. Water, power, silence, and consequence. Maybe the settlers didn't discover something new. Maybe they simply gave an old fear a new name. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, reports didn't stop. They just changed tone. Kayakers described sudden, powerful currents where none should exist. Anglers reported feeling their lines go slack, then heavy, then suddenly free again, as if something massive had taken interest and lost it just as quickly. Several people reported seeing long shadows beneath the water that didn't move like fish, too smooth, too intentional, and always the same detail. When the river felt wrong, everything else went quiet. No birds, no insects, just water and awareness. Now, of course, skeptics offer explanations. It's a large fish, like a sturgeon, beavers, logs, optical illusions, and many sightings are likely just that. But here's the thing. Rivers don't generate consistent legends for over a century without something feeding them. Fear doesn't root itself deeply without repetition. The Kalamazoo River Dragon doesn't demand belief. It doesn't seek attention. It just waits. The Kalamazoo River still flows, still feeds cities, still reflects moonlight the same way it did when Kaczynski stood on its bank, a notebook shaking in his hands. And if you stand there long enough, really stand there, you might feel it. That subtle pressure in your chest, that sense of being measured, not hunted, just acknowledged. Because rivers remember, and some legends don't need proof. They just need time. The Kalamazoo River doesn't roar. It doesn't warn. It moves the way secrets do. Slow, patient, and heavy with memory. Long before factories stained its banks, long before names were carved into maps. Something learned the river's bends, its depths, its hunger. Something that understood one simple truth. Rivers don't forget what they've fed. Now maybe the dragon is a monster of scale and shadow. Or maybe it's the river itself, given teeth and will. A shape born from neglect, a guardian twisted by what we poured into its veins. And if that's the case, then perhaps it doesn't surface to terrorize. It surfaces to remind. Well, hun, I gotta tell ya. A, I don't like snakes, and I don't like alligators.
You don't like alligators?
And I don't like rivers where you can't see into them.
All right, so let's be honest. On a scale from 1 to 10, where are you on wanting to go on a kayak trip on the Kalamazoo River? 10 being, I'm never kayaking again.
10.
Well, I'll tell you what, I am suddenly very respectful of all rivers now, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, my dad used to take us canoeing on the Muskegon River, and you can't really see through that thing either. And,
Right.
you know, we're just kind of cruising down, my old friend and I, just relaxing, letting the river take us on its own. My feet were dangling. My legs were actually dangling in the water. And I thought I had, like, you know, maybe a leaf or something stuck to me. And it was a bloodsucker.
Bloodsucker, oh.
And that freaked me out. Do you think I'm ever going to put my legs dangling in the water again?
Probably not.
Absolutely not.
You know, you put a little salt on those guys and they fall right off.
Yeah, well, I ripped it off.
Calling this thing a dragon almost doesn't feel right. There's no fire, no wings, no roaring. It's just big and serpent-like. And it's got limbs, of course, but it doesn't really fit the word that we think of when we think of dragon. Almost it's kind of scarier than a dragon. It's huge, and it just waits.
Yeah, no thank you.
It's a Midwest dragon. No drama. It just watches you and judges.
No drama for your mama.
And this guy that actually went out and documented this creature, Kaczynski, he didn't freak out. He wasn't a drunk. He wasn't hunting monsters. He was just documenting nature.
So I assume from the story that maybe he was eaten?
That's possible. I mean, he just kind of disappeared off the map. Who knows? Whoever knows what happened to Jacob Kaczynski.
Maybe he thought they were becoming friends, communicating.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, sir.
Well, in all the documentation, everybody says that it never hurt anybody. It never did attack anybody. But predators don't always attack. Sometimes they just observe.
So the question remains, where is Kaczynski?
Right. And if you're just being observed, that's almost more insulting. So what do you think of the England theory of it traveling across the Atlantic, that it was actually brought over here?
It's a possibility.
I think it's fascinating, all the tie-ins with the indigenous water spirits, because there's so many things that are so similar. I mean, basically they're different names, different cultures, but the same warning. Respect the water, or the water will remind you. It doesn't feel like coincidence. And as skeptics will say, it's fish or logs or beavers. But what about the breathing sounds? And the fact that multiple people are describing the same thing decades apart, that's kind of weird.
Agreed. And that silty bottom, riverbeds in Michigan are very silty and soft.
And the actual shape of the Kalamazoo River kind of resembles the shape of a dragon too, so that's kind of cool. So, welcome to Michigan. We got lakes, forests, cryptids, and apparently we have dragons as well.
Michigan is kind of a one-stop shop. A little bit of everything.
It is. We got a pretty good grab bag. The scariest part to me is not that it might exist, but that it doesn't care whether we believe in it or not.
It really doesn't care what we think. Well, great story, hun. I never knew Michigan had water dragons.
We have our share of water spirits and water serpents, but this is the first one that I came across that was actually labeled as a dragon. It's kind of neat, and I hope this dragon stays happy and doesn't eat anybody.
Stick to turtles. Well, do you want to sign us out, hun?
Sure do. You better lock your doors. You better lock your windows. And you might just want to check under your bed.
And if I see that water dragon under there, I'm just gonna stare. You can stare at me. I'm gonna stare at him.
Yeah, just put a little salt on him.
I don't know if that's gonna work with a dragon.
Well, it's worth a try.
Yeah, I'll have my bag of salt. I'll be ready. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. And we will see you again on Malice Monday.
We will see you on Monday.